this isn't just another motivational video. This is your complete roadmap to reinvent yourself and rebrand your life. To stop dreaming about the life you want and actually start creating it. To step into the person that you know you're meant to be. And I'm not holding back. So if you're ready, keep watching because this video might just change your life. Hey friend, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and become their best self, live their dream life. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. And in case you want more from me besides just my YouTube videos, you can check out my deep dive feminine energy course or any of my other digital products like my best-selling Notion templates. They are all linked down below. Okay, so you clicked on this video because you're ready for a major rebrand. Maybe you're feeling bored and unsatisfied and uninspired with the way things are going right now, or maybe you feel like you're holding yourself back and you know, you can feel it deep down that it's time to move on to something bigger, something better. Not every year is going to be a rebrand year, and it shouldn't be. But every so often you get the itch because there's something within us calling us towards that next level, telling us that we're ready. So in this video, I'm gonna dive into why people stay stuck and why they struggle to reinvent themselves, the mindset shifts and the internal things that you need to change your life, as well as the realistic, the practical, the tangible things that you need, because it all works together. But before we get into it, a special thank you to BetterHelp for kindly sponsoring today's video. When the new year comes around, we often have these new big goals, and it can feel exciting for sure, but it can also feel overwhelming. Sometimes you start feeling this heavy internal pressure to make all of these big changes immediately. Or maybe you have these expectations of where you feel like you should be, feeling behind, comparing yourself to other people. But all of that, that's the kind of stuff that holds you back. If you want to move past any of those struggles or that overwhelm that you feel, therapy could help. It can help you untangle and clear out that mental chatter and help you move from overwhelm to clarity and action. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story, and BetterHelp makes it easy to get started. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that helps to make therapy more comfortable and more convenient. To get started, you just fill out a quick questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist in as little as a couple days. And therapy is such a personal thing. If you feel like you don't mesh with your therapist, or for whatever reason you feel like it's just not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time with no extra cost. You can start fresh any day of the year with BetterHelp. Just click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/Jillz to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Now let's get into it. Why people stay stuck. Why people try to rebrand their life and fail. Because I can't fully talk about how to actually rebrand yourself and rebrand your life until we cover this. Number one, reinvention is also death. And that is why most people avoid it. That is why so many people can never fully transform, because they can never fully let go. Reinventing yourself means you have to let parts of you die, metaphorically speaking, of course. You have to let go of who you've always been, and our ego doesn't like that, right? It sees any change as a threat to our survival, and deep down, we don't crave what's good for us. We crave what's familiar. We crave to keep our identity intact because at least there's a sense of predictability in that. But the parts of you that are tied to struggle, limitation, pain, and anything else that's holding you back or that you don't like, as long as you keep those ties, as long as you keep those parts of yourself, nothing will ever really change. The transformation process requires an inner death, and experiencing that is not always comfortable. This is why so many people half manifest. They try to create a new reality without letting go of the parts of themselves that can't exist in that reality. And there becomes this constant tension of who I've always been and who I want to be. Back and forth, back and forth. You've probably felt that struggle before. But there comes a point where you have to decide to consciously let her go and sit in the discomfort of that. I went through a major rebrand in my life like 8 years ago. And part of that rebrand was a health rebrand. I was really unwell at the time, health issues galore, so it was very much needed. And I was just like a chronic junk food eater at the time. Like, that's who I was. It was honestly what I was known for, which is kind of sad, but it was almost a part of my identity. My entire life, that's who I'd always been. And so I obviously had to dramatically shift my eating habits if I wanted to shift into healthy Jillz. And there was this moment, I still remember it so clearly because it was like a defining moment for me. Someone gifted me like a big box of cookies for whatever reason, I don't remember. And obviously that did not align with the new self that I was trying to create. And when I got home, I stood there, cookies in hand, in front of the trash can, basically deciding who I wanted to be. Do I eat these cookies and continue who I've always been, or do I want to change things? Am I ready to be the version of me that is required to exist in the reality I want. And I decided that I was ready to change. I was ready to let go. And I remember feeling so sad putting those cookies in the trash, like almost shedding a tear, not because I desperately needed those cookies, but because I knew that by doing that, I was finally saying goodbye to the version of me that I had always been for 24 years. The version of me that was no longer serving me. I was letting that part of myself die. And I knew it. I couldn't articulate it at the time, but I could feel it. I knew what I was doing. It felt ceremonial almost. So that was me intentionally deciding to let her go and move on, and intentionally saying, thank you. Thank you very much for serving me for the past 24 years. I'm really grateful for you, but I'm moving on. And after that, my life changed like that. Not even 1 month later, eating healthy honestly became easy for me. It felt natural, it felt effortless, and I actually really enjoyed it. And that's because I allowed for the death of my old self. I wasn't trying to compete against it. I allowed for that inner death. I had to let go of the version of me that could not exist in the reality I wanted to create. No matter how much you love yourself or hate yourself, it still feels weird. It still feels uncomfortable to let go. You still become attached to who you are. So there's always going to be a little bit of grief or discomfort in that process. Now, if you want to make this a moment for you so it feels more powerful and intentional, you can write down on a piece of paper basically all of the parts of yourself that you are choosing to let go. All of the parts of you that are tied to your limitations, your pain, your struggles, everything that's no longer serving you. Put it all down on paper, really feel it, let yourself feel the grief in that moment if you need to, and then once you decide you're ready, burn it. And along these same lines, number 2, your current reality is not a reflection of your desires. It's a mirror of your subconscious loyalties. Subconscious loyalties are the beliefs, the stories, the identities that you have held on to for so long that they just feel like facts. And these beliefs often come from your upbringing or past experiences, or just like messages that you have absorbed from the world around you. Maybe you grew up hearing things like money is the root of all evil, or relationships always end in heartbreak. Well, even if you consciously want wealth, or even if you consciously want love, if your subconscious is loyal to the belief that those things are unsafe or unattainable or bad in some sort of way, it's gonna keep you stuck in a reality that pushes those away. The truly hard work of manifestation isn't visualizing and doing your affirmations and making your vision boards. It's dismantling these subconscious loyalties and choosing to walk away from identities that no longer serve you. And again, this process can feel like grief because you're letting go of who you've always been, even if that person kept you small. So start by asking, what beliefs, what stories, what identities are you holding on to that are keeping you stuck in this reality? For example, I have to work really hard all the time to be successful, or I'm always the one that gets overlooked. Write them down and be honest with yourself. Now, what is staying loyal to these beliefs costing you? And if you could let go of everything that's holding you back, who would you become? Think of a hot air balloon, okay? Just for a moment. Think of a hot air balloon. To get that hot air balloon to go on up into the sky, yes, you have to put the helium into the balloon, but you also need to cut the ropes that are tying it to the ground, or it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how much helium you put in there, you're not going anywhere. Some of your subconscious loyalties are these ropes, and the minute you cut them, you start going up. You immediately start moving into that higher self, literally. So the question is who do you want to be more loyal to? Your current self or your future self, AKA your higher self? Now, moving on, these beliefs are crucial because number 3, the third reason why people stay stuck, and this is huge, your subconscious doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're right. Here's what I mean. The subconscious mind is not designed to prioritize your happiness. It's designed to keep you safe and keep things consistent. And safety, in the eyes of the subconscious mind at least, means maintaining the familiar, even if that familiar is painful or limiting. Okay, so if you grew up believing I'm always overlooked, your subconscious will subtly orchestrate situations and create a reality where you continue to feel overlooked, because it doesn't care if you're happy, it cares that you're right. Or if you have the belief that relationships always end in heartbreak, your subconscious might push you to sabotage relationships or choose crappy partners because it doesn't care if you're happy and in love, it cares that you're right. Or if you've always believed life is a struggle, or I never have enough money, that is the reality your subconscious will create for yourself. Because it doesn't care if you're happy and abundant and successful. It cares that you're right. Your external world is a mirror to your internal world. And here's the key, please remember this. This is because your internal world is always looking to be validated, okay? And it will actively reject anything that contradicts it, even if those new experiences will bring you happiness and success. And this is why the beliefs you believe and the thoughts that you think are so important. Your brain will create a reality to prove those beliefs true, because it wants to be right and it wants things to be predictable. Many people stay stuck and never fully evolve because they don't see how this pattern plays out in their life. They're not creating their reality. They're just existing in it. So here's the bottom line. If you want to rebrand your life, you have to stop letting your subconscious run the show. You have to choose a new story, new beliefs that align with the life that you want. And you have to be self-aware enough to realize if those old beliefs start creeping back in. Then, and this is so important, you have to normalize these beliefs. You have to normalize this new story. You actively work to validate it. Prove to yourself that it can be true. And every time that you act in alignment with your new beliefs, what you're doing is reinforcing it and rewiring that into your brain. Now, if you haven't noticed by now, everything kind of goes back to the same point. The old self must die for the new to be reborn. And if you can't fully let go, you'll always stay stuck. Like the hot air balloon, you can try so hard and do all the things to try to get that thing to move on up into the sky. But if you still have those ropes tying you to the earth, you are not going anywhere. But now that we've covered all that, let's get into how to move forward. So let's talk about the mindset shifts and the mental things that you need to rebrand your life, and then we'll get into the practicalities. First, you need to have a clear vision of what you want your life to look like and who you want to be. And you need to approach this with brutal honesty. And I'm not saying that you need to know exactly how to get there, but I want you to get really clear on what that is for you. Who is that person that you want to be? What does her life look like? What does it feel like? What are her routines like? Really think about it, really visualize it. And then I want you to go a bit deeper. What are her habits? What stories does she live by? What does she believe about herself? What does she believe to be true about the world? What does her outer world look like? And what does her inner world look like? And defining this vision requires honesty with yourself. Because one trap we often fall into is adopting desires from other people and mistaking them for our own. And this is something called mimetic desire. It's where we look to others, consciously or unconsciously, to decide what we should want. For example, maybe someone you admire buys a certain car, and suddenly you kind of want that car. Not because you've always dreamed of that particular car, but because that person's desire influenced yours. Maybe all of your friends want to be influencers. And so you start thinking, maybe I want to do that too, even though it doesn't actually align with what you want at all. And so as you're defining your vision, ask yourself, do I truly want this? Or do I want it because I see other people wanting it? And then once you get clear on this vision and what your rebrand will look like, feel like, this might sound a little bit weird, it might sound a little bit funny, but I want you to do this. I want you to tie this rebrand and this version of yourself to a specific color. Why? Because color has energy. Color evokes emotion, it sets a tone. Think about it. Red feels bold and powerful, and gold feels luxurious and abundant. Choosing a color for your rebrand isn't just fun, it's a way to give this new version of you a really simple, easy, visual thing to connect back to. But I want you to be really specific with it, okay? Don't just say my color is blue or green. Be more specific. My color is ocean blue or periwinkle or sage or emerald, because they all very much elicit different emotions and different feelings. I would say my last major rebrand was the 2020-2021 era, and the color for me then was like soft pink, like a blush pink. I wanted to bring more softness and ease and elegance and feminine energy into my life, and that color, for me at least, really symbolized that. It really captured the energy of how I want to feel, and when I thought of that color, I knew the energy that I wanted to embody. But now, with who I'm transforming into now, because I do feel a big inner shift happening, my color is like this deep raspberry burgundy red. Like, that is the energy I want to bring forth. It's passionate, it's powerful, it's sophisticated, it's sexy, it's strong, it's bold. And it's funny because I already know, like several years down the line, I already know my next rebrand color. I know exactly what it's gonna be. It's gonna be like a deep plum color. Because to me, this symbolizes like queen energy, regal energy, a little bit more mature, a little bit more wise. Like, I can feel it now that that'll be my next step. I was on a walk with my husband recently, and I asked him this about his colors, and he said in his 20s, it it was very much ocean blue. Like it was all about kind of being adventurous and going with the flow of life and seeing where it takes him and being open and learning new things. But he said now, his color now is more, quote, money green, as he says. And to him, that symbolizes money, yes, but also stability, abundance in general, feeling rooted, feeling grounded, feeling unshakable, being disciplined, kind of like a big sturdy tree. And then he told me he already knows his future color. When the time is right, that color is going to be gold. Luxury, leadership, prosperity, success, empowerment, authority. I just think it's helpful and interesting to kind of hear these examples, but here's the cool part with this. When you start associating your rebrand with a specific color, you will start seeing that color everywhere. And it'll almost be like little reminders from the universe. And you'll start naturally gravitating toward that color and bringing that color into your life. You'll start wearing that color more and decorating more with that color and buying flowers in that color. You know what color I've unintentionally been wearing a lot of recently? Like a deep raspberry red. And you want to know something else that's also kind of hilarious? My husband has been unintentionally wearing a lot of money green. And he also just bought a new car. What color car did he subconsciously gravitate towards? Essentially money green. It's this really cool, like rusty green color, and it's really beautiful. Like looks like a different color in different light. But it's almost like this color in your life is a personal anchor to the energy of who you want to embody. Whatever your rebrand color is, share it in the comments below. I know it does sound like a little funny and a little childish, but it really does work. It's really helpful, especially if you can get specific with it. Not just, oh, pink, purple, but get specific with it and share it in the comments below. It really helps you tap into the energy of who you want to be in a more fun, playful way. Now, next, here's a mindset shift that I want you to think about. And it might sound a little crazy at first. 10x growth can actually be easier than aiming for 2x growth. And here's what I mean. There's a book I read called 10x is easier than 2x, and it's a business book, but you can still apply this concept to your life. So basically, when you aim for 2x, you're trying to stretch what already exists. You're working harder, tweaking, making incremental changes, but you're still tied to the same systems, the same habits, the same mindset that got you here. You're trying to fit your new goals into your current framework, and that is why it feels like such a grind and so hard. 2x thinking doesn't push you to innovate or let go of old patterns. It's like if you are trying to renovate a house, but it's already falling apart. You can't build on a foundation that doesn't support anything better. But aiming for 10x, thinking in terms of 10x, how can I make a 10x leap in my life? You start thinking completely differently. You can't just do more of the same. You have to do something entirely new. You have to reinvent systems, release old habits, and step into an entirely different version of yourself. Imagine you want to make more money, like what's talked about in the book. A 2x mindset would have you trying to work all these extra hours and stretching yourself thin, trying just to make another dollar and juggling all these different side hustles. But a 10x mindset, on the other hand, will have you completely reshifting the way you think about your career, building high value skills that actually really increase your earning potential, figuring out how to actually scale your business in an entirely different way. The second approach feels a lot scarier, but it's actually a lot more transformational in the long run. When you're rebranding your life, aiming for small, manageable improvements keeps you tied to your current identity. And let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with small, manageable improvements. There is nothing wrong with your current identity. But when you are at the point where you are ready for a major reinvention of yourself, a major rebranding of your life, what got you here will not get you there. Thinking in terms of 10x instead of 2x forces you to let the old version of you go entirely, because it's not about doing more. It's about doing different. So here's the question. Are you looking at this like you are trying to stretch your current self, or stepping into a new one entirely? One is 2x, one is 10x. Neither is wrong, but if you want to rebrand your entire life, that 10x thinking is what's gonna get you the transformation that you're looking for. Now, lastly, deep transformation requires focusing on yourself. It can require a little bit of healthy selfishness sometimes, and it can require you to go inward. Okay, think about it this way. When the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, he doesn't do this by continuing to hang out with his little caterpillar buddies every day and living the same life that he always lived. No, he goes entirely inward into his little cocoon. He becomes entirely self-focused, and funny enough, it's almost like he has a little mini death in there. But after that process, he emerges completely transformed, essentially 10xing his life and becoming this incredible, free, badass little butterfly. When we're in the midst of deep transformation, it's natural for us to want to go inward and focus on ourselves and be a little bit more selfish. Now, if we are just selfish and entirely self-focused all the time, that is not healthy. I would not deem that to be a good thing, but we aren't rebranding our lives every single year. But every so often we get the pull, we get the hunch that it's time to step into something bigger. And when you feel that, it is okay to pull in and focus on yourself. We all need that from time to time to be our best self. Reinventing yourself can sometimes require periods of imbalance, and that is okay, because let me tell you something about balance. Balance is the reward, but it's not always the strategy. Life moves in seasons. There are times of balance and stability, and there are times of imbalance and maybe a little bit of chaos, but also transformation. It's a natural rhythm. That's how life works. Think about it. When you have just given birth to your first baby, freshly postpartum, do you walk out of that hospital immediately balanced in all areas of your life? No, you are all in, zoned in on you and your baby, and that is it. You are focused on healing. You are transforming. It's a little bit raw, it's a little bit scary, but that balance does come back eventually. Or when you're studying really hard for the LSAT to get into your dream law school, do you feel particularly balanced then? Not really, but sometimes that imbalance is exactly what's required to get you to where you want to go. And eventually that balance does return. That's the rhythm of life. Balance, imbalance, periods of easy flow and periods of deep, raw transformation. And the cycle just continues. Don't fear the imbalance. You can lean into it. It's just a season that can lead to something greater. Now, let's talk about the practical, realistic, tangible things that you can start doing to start rebranding. First of all, I highly recommend, once you have that clearly defined vision of who you want to be, to spend a whole weekend, block it off on your calendar. Make sure that you don't have any social engagements or any big family responsibilities that you have to be a part of. And just spend the whole weekend cocooned up in your place alone, getting organized. Before anything, get organized and get ready to welcome this new self into the world, so to say. So clean out your closet, right? Any old clothes that don't align with you, that don't really match the version of you who you are trying to be, maybe consider donating them or selling them. Get your physical space in order, especially in a way that relates to this rebranded version of yourself. Let me give you a practical example of what I mean by this. So if your rebranded self is really good at cooking and cooks a lot at home and eats really healthy food, clean out and tidy up your kitchen. Throw away the junk. Organize your spice drawer. Organize your cooking tools. Make it a wonderful space to be in. If this new version of you involves becoming strong and fit and being like a workout girl and you're planning on working out at home, create a small designated space in your home to work out. Set up, and organize any equipment that you have, like your resistance bands or your ankle weights. Have everything organized, ready to go. Or if you plan on going to the gym, make sure that you find a good gym, sign up for it, and have it ready to go. Or another example, if this new version of you is a business owner and that's something that you really want to do, you want to start a business, maybe you should open your computer, go through all your files, clear out all the junk, clear out your desktop, clear out your email inbox. Maybe you need to start a new email for your business, whatever it is, just get organized. When you're organized in a way that supports the life you want, it is way easier to start creating it and start living in it. Just take a weekend entirely to yourself to clean out all of the junk that doesn't align anymore and to get organized. Even look at the people who you're following on social media. A life rebrand practically requires a fresh start, and trust me, it'll feel so good when you do this. To continue on with this organization theme though, once you have cleared out and tidied up your life, it is imperative that you have an organizational system to run your new life by. Becoming your future self requires some structure and some accountability. It's what helps you to actually show up as that version of you every day. You can do all the manifesting, all the visualizing, but what really matters at the end of the day is that you start showing up as her and start acting as her. Okay, so you are not just flying by the seat of your pants anymore. So you can do this however you like, whatever works for you. I use my Notion template. It really works for me. It's been a game changer for me. So I basically have all of my goals on there. I have my agenda on there that I can check off as I go. I have my habit tracker on there that I can check off as I go, meal planning, recipes, travel planning, all of that stuff. If you'd like to check it out, that template is linked down below, but you can also see a full video walking you through my entire Notion template template and how I specifically use it and how it keeps me organized and how I run my life. But really do what works for you. It's not about the tool itself. It's about finding a system that works for you, that you're actually going to use, that keeps you on track. Or if you like physical planners, physical calendars, physical to-do lists, writing it all down, that's great too. For me, I prefer digital with my Notion template just because it's very easy, very practical. I can check things off as I go, add new notes as I go. I have access to it on my computer or my phone just really easily. So that's what works for me. Maybe it'll inspire you too, but whatever it is, a little bit of structure and a little bit of organization goes a long way. Commit to a system that'll support you in showing up as the new you. Now let's talk about something super important, super practical, super straightforward. Your calendar and your agenda must be a reflection of your priorities. If the new version of you prioritizes fitness, for example, but there's no time blocked out on your calendar to go to the gym, then is it really a priority? If your agenda has all your important work tasks on there and all the errands you have to run, but no workout at gym, then it's not really a priority. If this new version of you is more social and makes an effort to hang out with her friends, but then you look on your calendar and you have 0 friend dates scheduled or 0 social things scheduled, then there's a disconnect, right? Something's not aligning. Your calendar and your to-do list are like mirrors for your priorities, and it shows you whether your actions are in alignment with your intentions. If they don't reflect the life you want and the person you're becoming, then you need to ask yourself, do I really want this? Or am I just saying I do? Your time needs to reflect your priorities, and if it doesn't, then something is off. Transformation won't happen until your actions meet your intentions. Now, whatever your goals are for this new year or this new version of yourself, with every overarching goal, there needs to be somewhat of a plan underneath that. You don't have to have everything figured out, but it's helpful for every goal to have an action plan that follows with it, because this gives you clarity on what it actually means for you and how you want to show up. If your goal is to get fit, I keep using that example because it's just so common, right? What's the action plan for that? Maybe it's I'll go do a gym workout twice a week. I will go to a Pilates class twice a week. And then the other days of the week, I'm just going to take a nice slow walk throughout the neighborhood. That right there is actionable. And then you can put those workouts and those activities into your calendar or in your agenda. And they're not just random ideas, they're commitments. Or if your goal is to meet the absolute love of your life. Now, you are not entirely in control of that, right? But think about your role in that. How am I going to show the world that I am ready for that? Maybe it's I'll get out of the house at least once a day, and when I do, I'm going to look nice, because you never know who you might run into. It's not about figuring out exactly how you're going to reach each and every goal. The universe often surprises us in beautiful and unexpected ways once we get clear on what we want. But having a plan means at least you know how you're going to show up and how you can hold yourself accountable to that. And then you put these plans in your Notion, your notebook, your organizational system, whatever you choose, whatever works for you. And these plans do not have to be perfect. Do not get caught up in perfection. They just need to exist so you know how to show up for yourself. So there's 2 sides to the rebrand. There's the mindset shifts, the clearing the limiting beliefs, the letting go of the ties to who you've always been, getting clear on your future vision. And then there's the action part, the doing part, the actually showing up part, and both are crucial. But now it's time to start acting, living, thinking like her. If you want to truly rebrand yourself and rebrand your entire life, you have to have the audacity and the self-awareness to let go of who you've always been and step into someone new. This doesn't happen passively or by accident. This happens consciously and intentionally. So ask yourself, what does this new version of me do? How does she move through her day? How does she speak? How does she think? How does she show up? How does she dress? And then start doing that now. Not 2 weeks from now, not when it feels easy, now. And honestly, you can make it fun. It doesn't have to be so serious and heavy. You can see it as like you're in a movie having a major plot twist, or you're in a video game where you are on this quest, and once you achieve this quest and finish this quest, then you level up. Because just to be clear, you're not rebranding yourself because you were forced to, or because you just suck who you are as a person. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You get to reinvent yourself if you want to, because isn't it fun to uncover different versions of yourself? Isn't it fun to see how high you can go? Doesn't it make life kind of interesting? When you approach it with love and playfulness, everything will fall into place perfectly. So stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the perfect time. If you clicked on this video and watched until the very end, it's because deep down you know, you can feel it, that you are being called to something more. Trust that. If you did stay until the very end, I'm very grateful for you. This was a very long video, but also leave your favorite red emoji in the comments below so I know. I love to see who sticks around. Thank you so much for watching. You are going to have an incredible year, and just know that I am rooting for you. So I'll see you next time. Bye.